Welcome back to the A&M Reviews. It's Muhammad and Adrian. The movie that we're going to do today is Wonder Woman 1984. Now, this film, it's kind of hard to get a really good synopsis of this movie without really going into spoilers, but I'm just going to read the description. So, Diana Prince lives quietly among mortals in the vibrant, sleek 1980s, an era of excess driven by the pursuit of having it all. Though she's come into her full powers, she maintains a low profile by curating ancient artifacts and only performing heroic acts incognito. But soon, Diana will have to muster all of her strength, wisdom, and courage as she finds herself squaring off against Maxwell Lord and the Cheetah. So what did you get from Wonder Woman 1984?
I think this was definitely a regular movie with a superhero star and not a superhero movie. I think the definition or the description is pretty accurate to the film. It's interesting how it all plays out. It, of course, occurs in the timeline before, Batman v Superman and Justice League and all that kind of stuff. And it's unfortunate that it only occurs in that order theoretically and not in real life. Because I feel like this would have been a great, if the DC universe, if we had started with Wonder Woman and gotten this movie next in like an actual filmography timeline, I feel like we'd be in a better place. But instead, it feels like we're jumping around the timeline, and for some reason, her movies are more well thought out and put together, and her character doesn't make sense in the real life future movies. I guess, well, the real life past movies and in the theatrical future, if that makes sense. If you watch all the films, it's like very confusing because they keep jumping around this timeline, and unfortunately her character suffers story arc wise, because it's like she has two different story arcs, and I'll talk more about that and Trevor and towards the end. But it was watchable. It was a nice film, a little more history.
Watchable.
Yeah. I don't say yeah.
Okay. We already know how you feel. I'm gonna say that I enjoyed it for the most part, but once I took a step back and tried to start reflecting on it, and it just started to become a little bit of a mess. Now, I think any normal person who doesn't really critique movies would really enjoy this because of the vibrant colors, the 1984 trend that everybody's trying to follow now with these movies. And it's getting kind of old at this point. And for this movie, it was kind of unnecessary to have this in the 80s because that's all it was, just for the look of the 80s. This movie could have taken place at any time period for the most part. But yeah, I mean, I think the movie kind of does a little bit too much, and it's a little bit too long, and some of it could have been cut, especially the first 15-20 minutes.
It was very long. It was very long.
Yeah, and I do like the theme of it, but as far as how it all comes together, I don't think it all works.
I think the movie works for itself. I mean, you're right. I mean, going back in time and filming things in past periods is a thing that's never going to go away. I think this one actually did a really good job of placing it in the 80s and making the movie even feel like it was in the 80s. Like, even like the cinematography of it, I feel like they had some filters on there, some editing that made it feel like it was an 80s movie. At some parts it felt a little cartoony with her lasso, but even then I thought about it and it really felt like I was watching a really old movie. And I thought that was pretty neat. I mean, I think it's very intentional. It's an easy way to make things look a little cheesier, I think. But at times, it definitely felt like that old movie. And it did a really good job as being an old movie that we saw in 2020, oddly enough.
But HD camera lens.
Right. HD camera lens, but it's still a little tint to it, as if it were maybe on VHS or something like that. The storyline makes sense. It's hard because the storyline I feel like makes sense if you ignore the rest of the DC films. Because a lot of growth that happens in this movie and in the first one that just is ignored because it didn't exist yet in the other films, which is unfortunate. I think Captain Marvel suffered from the same thing, playing in the future before her movie came out, so she didn't really have an identity in the movie. But this one, it's even worse because there's more to watch. And I'm curious to see how the next Captain Marvel movie deals with that. But yeah, the storyline was that same old. I feel like DC is very cartoony and they're hard to adapt for modern day. So their whole antagonist based on that rock was very like cartoony and not very explained because you can't, because it's where DC is fatally flawed for adaptation to modern day. It makes good, but it doesn't work for today.
But let's go ahead and rate it. So the lowest rating is trash, middle is background noise, and the highest is a banger. So how'd you rate the film Wonder Woman 1984?
You ever drive on the highway and see a McDonald's cup that's been ran over a couple times?
Yeah.
I feel like this is that level of high class trash. I feel like there's so much promise that could be made with the character of Wonder Woman, with Gal Gadot, with the momentum of the first Wonder Woman. They just dropped the ball. I mean, I was not impressed. It's high trash. I wanted to say background noise, but I'm never turning this on. To be on HBO Max, no.
Well, the trash is going to keep coming because the Justice League Snyder Cut is going to be coming on HBO Max. So
no reason.
Look out. No reason.
I don't want it.
Thanks for watching. And if you would like to be featured on our podcast, make sure to click the link in the description.